Dog knows exactly what to do when he finds unconscious creature. One of the many incredible things about canines is they can always tell when something is wrong. They sense when humans are hurt or upset and dole out extra licks and love accordingly. This is one of the many reasons we adore them. This was why these two dog owners were startled when their dogs started behaving a bit strangely, like the pooches were trying to say something. And when these owners listened to their dogs, they saw just how compassionate their best friends could really be.
Before we begin, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and click the notification bell for more amazing videos.
Diamond is a Jack Russell Terrier who lives in Iceland with his owner, Gunnar Sigurjonsson. One day, Gunnar was using his computer when he noticed Diamond whining as he walked into the room. The dog then turned around as if he wanted to lead Gunnar somewhere. Diamond started to run, leading Gunnar straight to the balcony, where there was an unconscious bird. I immediately thought the bird was dead, Gunnar said, so I called Diamond inside. Gunnar figured he'd take the bird outside, so he prepared a sheet of paper and a basket. Just as he was about to scoop up the animal, the bird started moving. Gunnar brought the little bird back into his house to heal, and after about an hour, he flew in a big circle and landed back on top of Diamond's head. This must have been some kind of birdie thank you for alerting Gunnar. The bird, though, wasn't safe quite yet. The bird clearly felt safe with Diamond, and after a few minutes, he flew over to a shelf. Gunnar was afraid that the bird might get hurt again while flying around indoors, so he picked him up and placed him inside a blue basket where he would stay safe overnight. Gunnar named the little bird Bibi. Once Bibi seemed back on his feet, Gunnar returned him to the balcony, but Bibi didn't want to leave just yet. More than an hour later, I looked outside, said Gunnar, and saw the bird exactly where I had put him. So, he returned the little guy to the basket. Things became easier after Bibi got a good night's sleep. I set the bird free around lunchtime the day after, and then he flew after a few seconds in my hand, getting some orientation obviously. And boy, did he fly high up, surely looking for some new adventures. A while after the bird had gone, I said to Diamond, "Where is Bibi?" recalled Gunnar. He looked at me, very sharply, then he ran directly to the balcony door and jumped on the arm of the sofa to look out. He knew exactly what I was talking about. Though their meeting was brief, Bibi knew Diamond had good intentions. Diamond's owners were amazed that their pup could show such affection towards a bird, but it is well within a dog's nature to empathize outside of their species. Kai, much like Diamond, was a lover of all creatures. He would frequently take strolls with his family through nearby forests and loved being outside in the wintry months. On one particular afternoon, however, Kai stepped up to do something incredible. Kai, her owner Carrie Burns, and Carrie's close friend, Pam, were walking along the Sucker River near Lake Superior, taking in all the beautiful scenery. Not too long into their journey, however, Kai started barking frantically at something close by. About a dozen yards away from the group was a bald eagle. He was lying in the middle of the snowy forest floor. He didn't look like there was anything wrong with him, but Kenny seemed to have an inkling the eagle was in some sort of trouble. Carrie and Pam started to slowly make their way to the bird, and as they got closer, the eagle simply hopped along the river bank. Something wasn't right. Since it was so late, Carrie and Pam planned to return the next day with more help. But would the eagle still be there? Early the next morning, Carrie returned to the river with some bald eagle rescue professionals from the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources. He was still there. The rescue workers knew how to safely handle birds who needed help, and they had all the gear necessary in case the eagle started acting out. It took a little while for the workers to calm the eagle down, but eventually, they coerced him into a safety cage. Carrie was amazed the bird was still on the river bank after all those hours. There was clearly something wrong with him, so they brought him to the Wild Woods Rehab in Duluth, Minnesota, to find out what. A woman named Peggy Farr was the first to examine the bald eagle. She noticed it was slightly underweight, but it wasn't anything to be extremely concerned about. He clearly had eaten somewhat recently. Farr also noticed the eagle's left shoulder was somewhat swollen, but luckily, not fractured. After Farr gave the bird a thorough physical examination, she passed him along to another worker who wrapped him up in a blanket for warmth. He'd been lying in the snow for so long that many of his feathers were frozen, and they needed to thaw out. Farr eventually came up with a theory as to what happened. During hunting season, it's pretty common for animals to pick at dead deer who still have the lead bullets in them. Occasionally, an animal will nibble at meat that has traces of the lead, and they get lead poisoning. This can drastically slow down their reaction speeds. Had this been this eagle's fate? After the bald eagle's short stint at Wildwood's Rehab, he was transported to the Raptor Center in St. Paul, Minnesota. The Raptor Center specialized in caring for birds of prey such as eagles, hawks, owls, and falcons. They'd be able to confirm once and for all what was wrong with their new winged resident. Lo and behold, the Raptor Center confirmed the bald eagle had lead poisoning, and there was also a soft tissue injury on his left shoulder. Luckily, the eagle made a full recovery, and he had Kenai to thank for it all. Kenai wasn't alone in his rescue missions either. During one particularly snowy day in January 2016, Indianapolis, Indiana resident Crystal Kelly sent her little Yorkshire Terrier, Lily, out into the backyard of her home to play and explore. While it began like any ordinary winter day for the pair, it would soon take an unexpected turn. Many dogs love playing in the snow because it's such a unique environment for them to enjoy, but it wasn't long before Crystal noticed something distracting Lily, even by the standards of such easily distracted animals. It was a bird, and the poor creature didn't seem well. But naturally, Crystal's most immediate concern was the health and safety of her and her furry friend. "Lily, you leave the birdie alone," she said firmly. "You need to come inside." Yet it soon became clear that the bird was in more immediate trouble. The poor creature was covered in ice so thoroughly that he was lying completely motionless, his wings frozen solid to his body. Crystal had to think quickly to help the bird as well as she could. Luckily, she was very crafty and was prepared to use all her resources to help the little creature. She put him in a bowl and covered him with a blanket as she developed her plan. Crystal had little expertise to speak of when it came to animal rescues, but she was determined to do whatever she could to help revive the suffering bird before it was too late. To that end, she brought out a hairdryer and decided to warm the little guy up. There was no question that Crystal's idea in that challenging moment was an unusual one, but she knew she had to try her best to do whatever she could to save the poor creature's life. If Crystal had simply done nothing, as many other folks in the same boat likely would have, that very well may have spelled the end of the line for the bird anyway. She couldn't have even ignored the bird and let her dog continue to play. But with a life on the line, it must have seemed like there was nothing to lose. Little by little, with the way that the frozen bird was literally defrosting, it seemed that there might have been some hope for him yet, but it would take some time before she'd know whether he'd be okay. At the same time, with the bird in the bowl just outside the back door of her house and the hairdryer plugged in, Crystal had to be cautious as she thawed the injured bird out of the danger he had found himself in. Initially, it didn't seem to be working. "I didn't put the blow dryer on high and warm him up too quickly," she clarified in the description for the YouTube video she posted. With a little patience and a low heat setting, something special happened. As the ice gradually melted, the bird started showing definitive signs of life. In time, he even started fidgeting and trying to maneuver his body towards the source of the much-needed warmth. More and more, the bird started to display signs of improvement, and 2 hours after Crystal had initially started trying to warm him up, he finally started moving his wings, a sure sign that he still had some fight left in him. Amazingly, the bird began stretching his legs. Then, before she knew it, he was happily hopping around the ground. It was as if he couldn't handle his excitement after Crystal gave him a new lease on life. Yet one crucial question still remained. Would the bird be able to fly again? It was great that he was still alive, but without the power of flight, he'd hardly be able to live the kind of life that his species was supposed to. Sure enough, it only took a few hops before the bird took flight, soaring high above the trees before Crystal and Lily's very eyes. He may not have stayed to say thank you, but surely he must have been grateful. Crystal was surprised to see that her unusual life-saving method worked, and his departure happened so quickly that she could hardly even process it. "Oh my gosh!" she exclaimed as the bird darted away. She could hardly believe how fast he flew. Crystal certainly deserves a great deal of credit for her quick, clever thinking when it came to saving that bird's life. Had it not been for her, the little guy would have been a goner. However, Crystal also credits Lily with leading her to the discovery in the first place. "My Yorkie helped me find this bird. As you can see, she was very sweet to it," she wrote on Facebook. "Yorkies are the best."